Hey everyone, I want to discuss a common theme we hear from a lot of customers, which is they have some automated bot or process that posts messages to Slack, and they want to extract those elements of those messages and get them into Salesforce. So in this particular use case, we've got, I don't know, a random, I just made this up, a lead bot that posts a email address and then some other ancillary message. And we want to create a lead in Salesforce from this message. So how do we do that with Centro? First of all, let me demonstrate the functionality. So we're going to use Emoji Reactions, in this case, the Salesforce emoji. You'll have to upload this to your workspace if you want to use this, of course. But in this case, this will triple workflow and create a lead in Salesforce. And when I do this, the emoji reaction signals visually that these leads have been processed, okay? And when we pick up the message coming from Slack, we will create a new lead, notify the person who clicked the emoji button with this ephemeral message that the lead was created. This is totally optional. And we've, of course, now grabbed the email and stripped that out of the message. First name and last name were not filled in because there was not enough detail in this message to do so. So we assumed that there would be a lead processor that would come and clean this up. Of course, they can come and do that right here within Slack and edit the record and update the first name, last name manually. However, first name and last name or any other information was in this message, that can all be stripped out too. Okay, so this is the demo of this working. Now let's show you how we did this. The first part is to go into Slack Workflow Builder, find this workflow. If you're starting from scratch, you'll want to hit Create, and then you're going to use an emoji reaction trigger. And I've done that with this particular workflow. And so I've got this emoji reaction triggered flow in this channel, and it's going to use the Salesforce emoji to be tripped. Then I'm going to add the Centro step Grok conversation. Grok is our AI tool, but it has a nice feature where we can pass through the conversation detail of the text. So what you do is you hit select conversation, pick the conversation the reaction was used in, and then in this limit to message or thread, you hit insert a variable, and then pick link to message reacted on. Okay, and then summary style, just pick don't summarize. If you've purchased our Grok program or want to trial that, you can actually use AI to summarize the message if it's a long one. Anyways, the next thing we do is we're going to use the output of that step into this fire a Salesforce platform event. The reason we want to send a platform event message to Salesforce is we want to do some sophisticated logic to strip out the message text and create a lead. We do have steps, this is for another video, to do all sorts of things like save the record right on the fly, maybe post a message, what have you. However, because we got to strip out the details of that message, we can only really do that in Salesforce. So we'll show you that in a second. So we want to get this information over to Salesforce for processing. You're going to choose the Fire a Salesforce Platform Event workflow step from Centro. Pick the Centro action event, and then you got to add these fields. So you come in down to the bottom and you're starting to add fields. You go and click these, API name for one, and then I'll walk through each of these. So the API name, just call it something unique that you'll identify later. I'll show you what. In this case, I just called it leadbot. Channel ID, we insert the variable channel reaction was used in, so that we can pass over the Slack channel ID. Message text, we're going to use the output of the Grok conversation chat transcript. Okay, that's going to pop into the message text variable. Slack member ID, I picked person who reacted, and then value, this is technically a required field. I just used the reaction added just in case we need to differentiate, but it's not necessary. But you do have to fill in something. So go ahead and hit save, publish changes, and then when you hit the reaction, one nice way of testing to make sure you've got everything is to open workbench.developerforce.com, go to queries, streaming push topics, hit generic subscriptions, and then the subscription we're going to put /event/central action E. This is totally optional. I just want to show how to debug these messages. So let's go ahead and react to another one. Let's just hit react here. And what we'll see in Workbench come through. I think I timed out. Let me do that one more time. Oops. So here's the message that passes through when we hit that fire Salesforce event. And you can see these are our fields, right? So this is our Slack user ID. That's my ID. I was the one who pressed it. You can see the message text. Here we've got the name of the person. This is a transcript. The special formatting, Slack does this for the email, and then the rest of the message text. Then you can see we've got like the channel ID, our API name, the value for the emoji reaction. All this is being sent over to Salesforce. So now we need something to pick up that message and handle it. So if you go into Salesforce and create a new flow and pick platform event triggered flow, then in the platform event, you're going to pick central action. And then what I like to do is put a decision router and then route it like this. So I've got new lead, and then I just give it a label for the outcome. So this will create a new branch. And then the condition, when you're using this, you can go into record, and then here's the API name. And then there's that lead bot name we gave it earlier. Okay, so then anytime an event comes from Slack, this router will say, is this the event that we're trying to handle? If so, it's going to go down this branch. Then from here, I've got a formula that, let me make this a little bigger. Salesforce has an element for a variable called formula. So you can do new resource, type formula, give it a name, a data type is going to be text, and then you start describing your formula. So what I did here is I named it a data type text. I gave it the name stripped email. And what Salesforce gives you today is just variables from the flow. So we're going to need from our platform event, we're going to need our text that we passed in from Slack. So that comes in as this merge record. And I don't love the formula building experience in this version of Flow. I think they're improving it for winter 23. But for now, you can actually create the form. I like to actually create the formula in Formula Builder for a record and test it out, and then come back and paste it in. If you're an expert in writing Salesforce formulas, that's fine. You can also just copy and paste what I did here. I'll put this in the video text so you can just copy. So this is a mid formula. So basically what we're trying to do, right, is strip out everything out of this message except for this email address. And this formula will get that. So what it's basically doing is trying to find the location of this bracket and then this bracket, and then remove everything else. That's what that mid function does. And so this is a fancy way of doing that. So we're doing a find that left bracket. We got to do some addition to handle the zero-based way of handling text strings. And then we've got to find the next bracket and then subtract out the original one and minus one. Don't worry too much about the details there. It's just messing around with the formula to strip it out right. So then once we have that, we can go ahead and create our lead. Again, I'm hard coding company, first name and last name. If you have that detail in your bot message, go ahead and do the same kind of formula stripping I showed you. But in email, we do have email, so we're going to go ahead and use our formula. Then that will create a new record, and then we want to do some assignments, so we got to create a handful of new variables. I like to go into here, new text resource type, choose variable, give it a unique API name, text type, and then you can see what I did here. So var channel, this again comes from our platform event. Var Slack member comes from our platform event, and then the var record ID is the output of the lead creation that we just did above. Then we pick the Centro send notification element to Slack. We can choose the channel ID variable, var channel ID. I gave it custom text here. You can choose whatever you want. I chose to send this ephemerally to the person who sent it, so we're not clogging up the channel, just to give them a nice idea that the lead was indeed created. It's nice to have that feedback loop to the user, but totally optional. You don't have to do it this way. And then when we send it ephemerally, we have to give it a Slack member ID. Again, that's coming from our Slack message. So we know who pressed the emoji. We sent that over the platform event, snagged it as variable, and then passed it through here. Now we attach a record. We got var record ID. Again, that's from the output of our lead. And then I created a custom button. So I added a dismiss button. And the button behavior is to simply dismiss the message once they've read it. So then you save and activate, and that is the result. So anytime a new message comes in, let's just do a new one, just to round out the demo. Obviously, I'm impersonating a bot. And we'll do our emoji reaction. So this is picking up the Slack member, the Slack channel, and grabbing this text, sending it to Salesforce. You can hear some notifications firing. And then here's our ephemeral message back to the person who pressed the button that the lead was created. And this is our custom dismiss button. And that's how you handle messages coming from a bot and getting that information into Salesforce. At least one way to do it. Thanks. Let us know if you have any questions.